It's time for another episode of Around the Nest 2.0, where we go up, down, left, and right through the Jays system, feeding you regurgitated morsels of delicious prospect news and all sorts of happenings throughout the system. I'm your host, Tyler Zickel, and today a quartet of voices joining us, myself included. AAA Buffalo, a longtime friend of the show, and his first appearance on 2.0, Pat Malacaro. We also have Tyler Murray from AA New Hampshire, and a new guest from Dunedin, Andrew Thriffiley. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. First and foremost, let's start at the very top. Pat, you already are showing off your big league dreams with the Blue Jays logo right behind you. Sahlen Field is the home of the Blue Jays as of the 1st of June. Tell us about the vibes throughout the city of Buffalo and the ballpark with the big leaguers back in town.
And not only is this Around the Nest 2.0, but this is Blue Jays home at Sahlen Field 2.0, really. With the Jays having played all their home games last year, save the first couple where they were in the home team's ballpark playing as the home team. It's incredible around here right now. And the first two games against Miami, just like last year, were exciting games. A walk-off win on Thursday or Wednesday it was for the Blue Jays, and some familiar names as well contributing to the offense. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who we've all seen tear the cover off the baseball for the minors. Now this year is doing incredibly well so far. Leading a lot of offensive categories. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. Had a lot of success at Sahlen Field. He's having some success here. So fans are excited, and fans are in the ballpark finally. It felt like being back at the ballpark after a year of just the game being played. And I mean that, you know what I mean? The game with no fans. And it was a little different last year. Now that there are fans, there's definitely an added excitement of fans here in Buffalo.
It was certainly terrific to not only see, but hear what everything was happening there at Sahlen Field from all the coverage on Blue Jays social media and elsewhere. And I would love to get your perspective on all of the renovations that have been done. I had a chance to listen to your conversation with Ben Wagner, where you guys touched on that a little bit. But from your perspective, somebody who's seen all sorts of iterations of Sahlen Field, and after what has happened over this last 18 months, specifically the most recent renovations, this is a facility on par with some big league stadiums from now on.
Absolutely. I think this goes above and beyond what AAA baseball, even the standards are for a new place like Polar Park in Worcester. For folks that may have been inside Sahlen Field before, maybe have taken a tour, both clubhouses as of right now are combined into one big structure for the Blue Jays, just the way it was last year. The difference is the multi-million-dollar renovation that you referenced, Tyler, where the Bisons and the Blue Jays came together and now are making a full-time, year-round, what is a permanent area, not just the old clubhouse. That'll actually be the visiting clubhouse going forward once the Blue Jays hopefully go back to Toronto very soon. And that will be the visiting side. So the visitors will enter from the first base side. And then what will be the Bison's clubhouse and is now the Blue Jays main clubhouse area where the batting cages used to be, connect both clubhouses right now. And then there's areas for increased area for training staff. The weight room is bigger. All the amenities, the kitchen area, all those things that have become commonplace in baseball over the 35 years that this ballpark has been around and have been updated are now going to be not only top of standard in AAA baseball, but I really do think top standards for Major League Baseball. The other thing to mention is the bullpens are no longer on foul territory down the baselines. They're now permanent structures in right center field, double tiered. The Blue Jays have the one that's right on field level. The visitors will have the one right above it. So not only is it better for the players, and they won't have to, guys like Jonathan Davis won't have to run full speed and run over top of the bullpen mound, and risk injury. Now they'll be able to go in that area, and there's no bullpen. And even for guys like us that need to see who's warming up in the bullpen, it's easier to see who's throwing now. One of the things I've noticed just the first couple of games, it's been very well received. And those are the main things. The batting cages, which I mentioned, were replaced by what is now will be the home and what is the Blue Jays main clubhouse area. That's a permanent structure now beyond right field. And there are two massive batting cage areas that are way bigger than what the old area used to be. So it's multi-million dollars, a lot of different areas. But I think, to answer your question in a very long-winded way, it's renovations that are on par with almost any big league team right now.
Now, you mentioned guys like us in the broadcast booth and in the media relations department. obviously when the Bisons are at home, you're the voice of Buffalo, but right now with the Blue Jays there, your role has changed a little bit, Pat. So can you tell us about what you've been doing, how you've been contributing? Obviously a guy with your many talents is going to be able to be used like a Swiss Army knife. So what have been some of your primary responsibilities with the Blue Jays in town?
So in terms of the Blue Jays, I'm helping out with the line score this year and making sure the balls and strikes and outs and runs, hits and errors are adding up on the scoreboard. So that's fun. Tim Langton's down this year from Toronto, which is great to see that he was able to make it down. I was helping out with the public address last year when Tim couldn't be here. Now that he's here, it's great to have him in the regular crew, just like it would be up at Rogers Center. So that's nice. And, during the day, it's a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that you guys do, whether it's sending out game notes, roster transactions, all those different things. And then once the game happens, it's almost as if the Bisons they are on the road all year right now, but it just like we're not traveling. So if it comes to a social media tweet or a game highlight clips and things like that during a game, chances are it's coming from myself or it's coming from Brad Bisping, who's been doing it for many years as well as in his role of running public relations. So it's a lot of everything. And it's a lot of fun. And, it's however long the season is, we're locked in for the entirety of it. And, glad to be back in any way possible.
Obviously, the big news out of Buffalo is that the big leaguers are there, but I'd love to dip our toe into AAA action. Of course, the Bisons playing as the Trenton Thunder at Arm & Hammer Park when they are the alleged home team, and then returning to their proper form when they hit the road. Certainly a unique case of dual identity for sure. But from your 30,000-foot view, Pat, what have you liked from Buffalo so far this year, and who have been some of the key contributors both on offense and on the mound?
Well, offensively, it's the consistency to me that really has been a key for this AAA lineup. When you talk about someone like Forrest Wall, who had a taste of AAA life late in 2019, he is second in stolen bases in AAA East and in all AAA baseball, one behind someone down in Durham right now. So he has 11 steals on the year, and he had 19 total in 2019. So clearly the speed is there, the aggressiveness and the willingness to the confidence in stolen bases is there for Forrest Wall, and him and Logan Warmoth. It really looks like they've combined to be a very good outfield tandem. And whether it be someone like Breivik Valera going to the outfield, or you name whoever else is at the other corner outfield spot, it's been a really nice mix. And then you add in someone like Kevin Smith, who has played very well and is not only defensively but offensively going into tonight. I think it's a 15-game on-base streak. So for somebody who started out just okay in his first chance at AAA pitching and facing AAA pitching, has done very well after the first couple of weeks and really increased his average and increased his on base, which is so important. And, adding in a player like Christian Colon, I think that's something that Duke McGuire and I, my broadcast partner here in Buffalo, have talked about for the last couple of years prior to 2020 was the Blue Jays need to go out and sign those big league free agents, the veterans who have big league experience, can be AAA contributors, and really help lead some of the young players. And Christian Colon has done that on the field and off the field, and add in someone like Breivik Valera as well, who played so well for Scranton Wilkes-Barre in 2019, would have been a part of the Bisons in 2020, and is contributing again this year.
A couple of guys we've been talking about on Around the Nest for a number of seasons now are, for some reason or another, still trying to get their feet under them this year. That's Nate Pearson and TJ Zoick, two guys who we know can compete at the highest level, who have the stuff, who have the makeup, who have the mentality to be long-term successes in the show. But for whatever reason, both of those guys have scuffled a little bit. And we know for Nate Pearson, the injury bug has bitten him a little bit since he made his big league debut. And for TJ Zoick, a similar situation. So for you, Pat, can you make a little bit of a diagnosis about two of the best arms in the system?
I think for Nate Pearson right now, it's just a matter of he has not thrown a lot of innings. He's going to pitch today, later on in game 2 of the doubleheader against Syracuse. And it's been 8 days since he pitched. And he was on the injured list a little bit after his start against Houston. And he'd only pitched twice up until that point. This will be his 4th appearance, I think, overall in the season. So I think for Nate Pearson, it's just a matter of getting his innings in, getting his feel for his pitches. Because when he came in, it wasn't a start, but he was the pitcher of record when the game against Scranton Wilkes-Barre, his last appearance, was picked up after being suspended the day before due to rain. He picked up, I think, 7 strikeouts in 3 innings of work. So 7 of his 9 outs were strikeouts, and including striking out 3 in his first inning of work. but it's cutting down those big innings where he gave up 4 runs in the second inning that he was out there for. So I think it's just getting into a rhythm, pitching every 5th day, and really finding a nice groove. He'll be a good pitcher and a top of the rotation guy. It's just a matter of getting back to that form for a guy who really, he pitched quite a bit of innings in 2019, but was still coming back from injury. So, those 2-inning, 5-inning stints here, and then eventually working up. I think it'll be just good to finally get what is close to a normal season underneath him. And then for TJ Zoick, just a pitcher that I think is figuring out his way now that you have guys like Nate Pearson or Alek Manoah, other first-round picks that have really rocketed through the organization and really trying to find a home, whether it be a starter where he's pitched. I feel like he's really had only one bad outing, but it was a pretty rough one that skewed the numbers. And now finding himself in what could be a role going forward, having pitched in the big leagues this season as well. And, could he be one of those long relievers, one of those guys that just he's relied upon in the big leagues to come out of the bullpen if you need him in a spot start situation, just to eat innings and really such a valuable spot for a team that could use it. So I think for those two guys, really just finding their way right now here in 2021 after what was somewhat of a tough 2020 in terms of some innings in the big leagues and then being at the alternate site and now finally getting back to game action here in 2021.
Pat, before we bop down to AA New Hampshire, I got to know, as the border gets closer and closer to opening up, and we also get fans stateside making the trip to Buffalo to either see the Blue Jays or potentially see the Bisons should they return this year, what's the food item at the ballpark that fans should be checking out? Is there anything new this year? Can I get some beef on weck? What can I do when I get to Sahlen Field? Well, with a name like Sahlen Field, you got to have a hot dog, I'm sure.
No doubt. We have Sahlen hot dogs ready to go. You can get your Charlie the Butcher's beef on weck, which is a local staple. So you can get all that. Pizza logs are very popular as well. So those are 3 Western New York food items that are great. And they don't have it right now, but if you're a fan and you're up for trying it, fried bologna is one of the biggest hits among fans here at the ballpark. We during a regular Bison season, there's fried bologna, and people just say it's to die for. So I'll take a lot of fans' word for it.
Forget Thunder pork roll. I'm going for Bison's fried bologna. That's for sure. Pat, thank you very much. In this edition of Around the Nest, we're hanging out to the very end. So if we can keep you all the way through our updates, we're going to have a little roundtable at the end. So if you don't mind hanging out, that would be great.
Thanks, Tyler. We'll do.
Absolutely, Pat. Let's go one down on the ladder as we head on over to New Hampshire. There he is, the lieutenant himself, Tyler Murray, reporting live from the Tooth Delta Dental Stadium on the shores of the Merrimack in downtown Manchester. Tyler Murray, happy Friday.
And a happy Friday to you, Zick. Let's get Pat Malacaro back as often as we can. I miss that voice. I'm in such a relaxed mood now. Like, I'm feeling really good about stuff. Good to have Pat back.
Definitely one of the linchpins we were missing for sure. Now, Tyler, for you, AA New Hampshire. We talked about it throughout this season on Around the Nest. One of the most prospect-packed rosters in all of baseball prior to the start of the year. But based on the record and some of the late-inning performance, is it safe to say things have been a little disappointing through the first month of 2021?
I think this week was going to be an interesting barometer because the 4-19 Binghamton Rumble Ponies, the Mets affiliate, came to town, and they've actually won all 3 games to start this week. So a win today, and they'll double their entire season's win total. And the story has unfortunately still been the bullpen, or the Fisher Cats are 0-for-9 in save opportunities. So that's been a bit of an issue. On the hitting side, though, there was a pretty passionate Cesar Martin, the manager, we could see in the dugout before Wednesday's game. He wasn't angry at the team, but as you know, Zick, Brother Ali once said in one of his hit songs, Self-Taught, that there's a thin line between anger and hunger, and I ride a unicycle down the middle. So it's something about motivating his guys to get out there. And what did they do that day? They got 5 runs in the first 3 innings, and it was an impressive start, but then 2 runs given up in the 9th to tie, 2 runs given up in the 10th to lose it. And it's just a matter of that one cylinder that's not quite firing off right now would be the back end of the bullpen, I'd say.
Let's get a little bit of a prospect update. Austin Martin leaving the yard for the first time this year. Certainly nice to see him continue to get going on offense after a middling start in his first pro year. We also want to talk about Jordan Groshan, get a little bit of opportunity to chat about Otto Lopez and Gabriel Moreno as well. So if you could just bop around some of those top prospects for us and tell us what they've been up to over the last week.
Let's bop. I mean, Austin Martin has been the talk of the town. His first home run as a professional baseball player last night. It's the second 2-hit game of the week, so he's been terrific. He'll be just fine. I mean, hitting 278, it's not like he's knocking anyone's socks off with the stats, but he's been terrific. Gabriel Moreno, we're still waiting for him to cool down a bit, but for like a lot of catchers, it's the plate discipline that goes along with his great hitting. Still hitting 389 with an OBP almost 500, so we're awfully impressed by him. I'm going to give you a little bit about Samad Taylor, though, too, because he's a guy who's very talented, maybe buried a bit behind some other prospects on this roster, but he's a guy we knew he could steal bases. He stole 26 2 years ago, 44 steals in 2018. He's your league leader right now with 11 steals. And he's also the team's home run leader with 4. So this guy came in advertised, at least my understanding, was defense and speed. Everyone needs that. But if he's also leading your team in home runs, that's obviously a great sign. And then Jordan Groshans, he's been hitting the ball hard. He's a right-handed batter, a lot of hard line drive singles to left field. He's been pulling it well. So that's been good to see. And as we talked about last week, his first at-bat back from – he was never on the injured list, but about 10 days just a rest for a hamstring issue, hit a home run. So we're certainly encouraged by Groshan. And then Otto Lopez, you can almost pencil in Otto Lopez for 2 hits every night at this point. He's unstoppable. So a great mix, certainly at the top of the lineup.
Across the game of baseball, we talk about guys who are clutch performers, and it seems like LJ Talley, when you need a big hit, he seems to be the guy. Little Jason in big moments comes up clutch. Can you tell us about what LJ's been doing at the dish? I think I saw a pinch hit, 2 RBI single or double the other night, made things interesting late, and that was coming off the bench, let alone when he starts. What do you like from the former Georgia Bulldog?
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't want to say he's inconsistent, but his run production has come in bunches. He had a 6 RBI game with a grand slam earlier this year, 4 RBI game, a 3 RBI game. And when he drove in 4, 2 of them came when the Fisher Cats were down to their final strike last week. Talley hits a 2-run double to tie and force extras. And then, he and Demi Orimaloye came through with some pretty big pinch hits a couple of nights ago in that back and forth eventual loss for the Fisher Cats. And then from a broadcast perspective, LJ Talley was one of the first at-bats broadcast by this year's broadcast assistant, young Nathan Strauss out of UMass. Hits a home run, gives the kid his first professional home run call. So LJ, thank you for that. The guy comes through in a lot of different ways.
And speaking of Nathan Strauss, I sent you a text when I was tuned into the broadcast, and maybe it's just me, but I get some young Jesse Goldberg Strassler vibes from Nathan Strauss, and you got to love it. As we miss Jesse here on the Nest, I can only imagine he's doing his thing in the A's system as he is wont to do. We miss Jesse dearly, but Nathan Strauss, he's been a nice addition to the broadcast crew along with Joe W.
Yeah, and look, if you're a young broadcaster out there looking for advice, I certainly can't help you. I don't know what I'm doing here, but if there's one thing I can say, it's if you're described as a young Jesse Goldberg Strassler, keep doing what you're doing because that's where you want to be.
Soon enough, he'll be hosting Around the Nest 3.0. That's Nathan Strauss, broadcast assistant for the Fisher Cats. Tyler, before we bop all the way down to Low A Dunedin and have a debut on Around the Nest for Andrew T., can you quickly give us a quick update? We love that. About Rowdy Red and Bubble Blue, Fisher Cats Sumo. I've been watching every night. I know our Around the Nest listeners are listening to every single word, waiting for your annual, or I should say weekly Sumo update. Give us your best shot.
I'm listening to you across the country and Canada on Sportsnet, updating folks who have no idea about sumo, about Fisher Cat Sumo. Look, there's a new move where they're out in right field. There's padding on the wall. So now you're seeing them slam each other, both of their heads into the green padding. It seems completely unsafe, but anything goes in Fisher Cat Sumo. And right now, Bubble Blue has the slight edge. Thanks as always for asking, Zach.
I can't help myself when it comes to Fisher Cats Sumo. That's Tyler Murray from AA, New Hampshire. Stick around, LT, and we want to talk about that Yeti mug that you're drinking out of as well once we get to the very end of our show, but we'll save that for last. Let's go down to Low A Dunedin, a brand new addition to Around the Nest, Mr. Andrew Thriffiley. He is the Pelican super fan we all didn't know we needed. Andrew, welcome to the Nest. How you doing?
Thanks for having me. Great to make the debut. Only non-broadcaster here, but I'm going to hold my own.
This is going out to the various channels. I mean, Rick, you can be found where podcasts are broadcast. So for now, you are a broadcaster, Andrew, so don't sell yourself short. You're coming to us From TD Ballpark down there in Dunedin, it has been the home opener this week to make it official for your DJs. You look at the record, obviously things have not necessarily gone the way Dunedin would like them to go, but can you give us some highlights from the first month of the season as this is your first appearance on the Nest?
Yeah, I think the team feels like they're close in a lot of ways. I think there's a lot of, other than the first week, that maybe didn't seem like baseball for a lot of people, with a lot of crazy runs being scored all across the Southeast League. Maybe it had something to do with automated balls and strikes. Maybe it didn't. Who really knows right now? But you started to see us get more into actual baseball. We're playing close games this week. Lost last night 7-5. Lost the other night 1-0 with a great performance from Joel Concepcion on the mound. 6 innings of relief. So I think the team feels like we're close. We're just trying to figure out how to put the pitching and the hitting together at the same time. And it's going to come. We've had some great individual performances. Zach Britton started off the year well. You've seen, obviously, we'll talk about Addison in a little bit. But there's definitely been those performances. We're just trying to put it all together.
Can you tell us a little bit about the vibes around the ballpark, both before the gates open and then once the game gets going on? Obviously, in the Florida State League of old, there were a couple of clubs that draw and then other clubs, maybe not so much. So in terms of what the overall atmosphere these days with the new classification, has there been any changes? What has been your overall experience of the ballpark experience? So it's my third technical season here, and my first game with fans and with the Dunedin Blue Jays was last night. I know the team was very excited just to have fans around. I know Dunedin, the city itself, was just excited to have people back in the ballpark. It was good vibes all around. Great baseball game. So it's just good to have fans back. It's been fun. Speaking of our friend Addison Barger, we want to talk about the newly minted Low A Southeast Player of the Week. He had quite the performance, including a cycle that had a couple of home runs and I believe 7 RBI. Let's hear it straight from the horse's mouth here, Andrew. What do you got?
Yeah, I was at the game. Addison Barger. He got the triple. He gets the double. And I'm sitting in the camera well, and Luis Hurtado, our manager, turns to me and he goes, "This guy can go for the cycle. He's one of those guys." Addison comes up his next at bat, hits the home run, and we look at each other and we kind of give each other a laugh. And I said, honestly, Luis, the hardest part for this kid is going to be the single, because when he swings with some violence behind it. And next thing you know, he comes up for the 4th at bat, looking for the single, gets another home run. And you're starting to think, what's better, a cycle or a 3 home run game? Maybe it's something to talk about later on. But he finally gets it in the 5th at bat, gets that base hit. Team was very excited for him. First one since Gustavo Piero back in 2013.
Gustavo PRA. I haven't heard that name in years. Oh, it's amazing. Good drop. Keep up the good work.
So great week for him. He had 4 multi-hit games throughout the week, 6 doubles. The closest doubles behind him was 3. So just a very solid week for him. Hopefully he can keep following it up.
And after a while, you may no longer have him as a member of Dunedin. We might get him here with Advanced Day Vancouver, but for now, he is living it up as a member of the DJs. Andrew, I want to get your thoughts on a couple of top prospects who are with Dunedin right now, most notably Orelvis Martinez. Can you give us a little bit of an update about what's been going on with O?
Yeah, O is, I would say, the most consistent hitter on the team right now. 4 home runs, hitting 252. He's been that kind of steady bat in the lineup. He's going to get on base. He's going to put the ball in play, hits the ball hard. You see him in batting practice, getting those up to those flatty numbers. Not there yet, obviously, because he's young, but you're starting to see the 107s and the 110s. So he's definitely got that the bat speed and the exit velocity to really start to get the ball out. But yeah, like I said, one of the most consistent hitters we have right now. Still trying to figure out a little bit in the field, but I think he's going to get there with enough seasoning.
How about a guy, all of us in the upper minors, well, I'm in Advanced Day, but all of us in the system are looking forward to pronouncing his name, Josver Zuleta. Can you, first of all, pronounce it correctly for us? And secondly, give us a little bit of an update for one of the top prospect pitchers.
Yeah, Josver Zuleta.
Wow.
Unfortunately, we only had him for 3 pitches, and he went down. He was covering first base, and unfortunately, he went down with a knee injury. No further news on that, but I know that he can throw hard. We saw him in spring training. He seems to be has a lot of life to that fastball. So hopefully we can get him back here soon.
I will say this to you, Andrew. I want you to stick around because as much as I'd like to talk to Tyler Murray about a little bit of Peach Basket, I want to get your perspective as well. We mentioned it at the top of your segment, but you know what? In Around the Nest 2.0, we're not just sticking to baseball, folks. We're just having fun across the system. That's Andrew Thriffiley from Low A Dunedin. Andrew, thanks for joining us. Like I said, hang out. And for now, let me toss the reins over Tyler Murray as he has a chance to grill me about the Vancouver Canadians. LT, hit the Kingsford Grill. No sponsorship.
I'm ready to go. I was busy looking for the Gustavo PRA cycle highlight. I don't think it exists anymore. But wow, what a throwback! Great job.
We'll play the Three Blind Mice video instead.
No, that's the true throwback. Okay, Vancouver. We check in as often as we can. A couple of weeks ago, we're talking about the 8-game winning streak. Now you're playing some tougher teams, and it turns out last night was the first one of the month, but we're still early in June. So how's that series going with the Eugene Emeralds?
Yeah, the Emeralds came out hot. They had been riding a winning streak and took the first 2 games of the series against Vancouver. Game 1, bit of a stinker, and I had a chance to talk to Donnie Murphy before Game 2, and he had a chance to say that it seems like the team maybe comes out a little slow in Game 1 of the series each time around, simply because you get that Monday off day, and then it seems like it's been a little bit of juice for the next 5 games of the series. I had an opportunity 2 nights ago to have a lot of back and forth baseball. The Seas never led. They fell behind early, but tied the game on 3 separate occasions and then lost it in the 10th after stranding the tying run at third base. But it was a testament to the tenacity of this Canadians team. You have yet to see Vancouver really roll over. We all of us have seen various clubs sort of give up maybe in the later innings once they realize they're down. But something I've started to notice through the first month, this is a no-quit team. As cliche as that sounds, more times than not, they're going to find ways to bring that tying run to the plate in the later innings. And there's really been 1 or 2 occasions, Tuesday night's game specifically, where they just seemed out of it from the jump. But last night, led by Luis Quiñones, who returned from an 80-game suspension a week ago to make his first start, made his second start of the year yesterday, he was electric. 11 strikeouts through 5 innings pitched, and he had K'd 10 after 4, gave up just 1 hit. That was a first-inning home run. And through 10 innings so far this season, Quiñones has only given up 2 earned runs, 3 runs total, and only 2 hits. And that goes with a bunch of strikeouts as he continues to rack up the Ks. I said this on the broadcast last night, but Quiñones, the way he varies his delivery, a little herky-jerky sometimes, quick pitches another time, and then everywhere in between. Shades of Marcus Stroman, somebody, of course, we've talked about on the Nest in years past, former Blue Jays top prospect and stud pitcher, now doing his thing with the Mets, of course. But the way he changes up his delivery certainly had Eugene off balance last night. And despite that awesome logo that you were talking about on your broadcast yesterday for Eugene, Tyler, that Bigfoot carrying the big pine tree, it was more like a bunch of tiny little succulents that the Emeralds were swinging against Luis Quiñones last night. So he was terrific to watch. And the offense, they just came out and did it. Had a home run for Ronnie Brito, who used to be a top prospect in the Dodgers system before he came over to Toronto in that Russell Martin trade. He is still trying to find it, but it was nice to see him put a charge into one last night. And then up and down the lineup, guys have been contributing. So certainly nice to see production from just about every spot in the order for skipper Donnie Murphy's club.
So definitely a tough act to follow for tonight's starter. Is it just pronounced Nick Fraze, or I'm hoping it's Fraze? What we got?
It unfortunately for all of us, it's just Fraze, not Fraze, but maybe that could be a nickname for him. And this is a guy, Tyler Murray, that you might be seeing in Fisher Cats blue and red sooner rather than later. Nick leads the team and is tied for the league lead with 3 wins. Of course, thanks to Brian Kenny, we can talk all about kill the win, but you know what? I still say it's a testament to Nick Fraze's consistency. 3 consecutive quality starts where he's gone 6 innings and, of course, given up 3 earned runs or less. In fact, one was a 2 earned run start, and then he put up 6 zeros his last time around. And he's going to get another opportunity to show his stuff. He gets the ball, hops right on the rubber, wastes no time. And in his last start, I had the pleasure of being joined on my broadcast by 9-year big league veteran and 1999 MLB All-Star Kent Bottenfield, who used to pitch for the Cardinals, among other teams. And I asked Kent when Nick was on the mound. And by the way, Kent is now the coach at Palm Beach Atlantic University. And for him, he said he can immediately tell that Nick Fraze has all the confidence you need to go out and get it as a starting pitcher. He is wide stanced on the mound, really staring over his glove, ready to come at you. Occasionally he'll wear those specs that make him look Tyler Clippard-esque, and he's going to come and attack hitters each and every time. And he told me in a pregame interview the other day, his goal is to get batters out in 3 pitches or less. So he doesn't get hung up on the idea that he's got to K guys. He trusts his defense, throws his 2-seamer in the zone, and when his slider is on, I say look out. He could strike out just about anybody if he has to. But Nick Frey looking forward to his start tonight in what should be a great test for the former Texas State star.
Oh, getting high praise like that from Kenty Botts, you're on your way. That's good to hear. And I did want to hear about another guy. Fifth round pick, Tanner Morris out of Virginia just 2 years ago. Haven't heard too much about him so far this year, but he's heating up, it sounds like.
He is heating up indeed. First of all, Tanner Morris could be your doppelganger, Tyler. It gives hope to us, guys like us.
He's a good-looking dude, you're right.
Yeah. Handsome fella, for sure. The pride of Crozet, Virginia, and a former Virginia Cavalier. He had 1 extra base hit in the entire month of May. That was a homer. But since we flipped the calendar over to June, it's 2 or 3 doubles and a triple as well, though the triple got some help from the all-synthetic surface here at Ron Tonkin Field. All those little rubber pellets give a little bit of extra bounce to those balls, and certainly something that we have loved to see. And before I continue, just want to say thanks to Pat for tuning in. Pat, you got big league responsibilities, so we know you have to dash. Let me pause my thing for a second. Pat, I want to get one last thing from you. Looking ahead to future episodes Around the Nest, if you had to describe the Buffalo Bisons with one word, just a quick little test for you, what word would that be?
Resilient. A lot's going on this year, not knowing where they'd play about 2 weeks before the season started. So I'll say resilient, finishing the first month of the year better than 500. It's been great to chat with you guys as well. Great to see you guys in this format. Looking forward to doing it again very soon. So resilient is the word I'd use.
Thank you, Pat, and cheers to the Blue Jays as they do their thing at Sahlen Field. Good to have you back on the Nest, Pat. We will talk to you along the way, and cheers to the rest of your day.
Thanks, guys.
So Tyler Murray, for me, to get back to the Tanner Morris thought, this is a guy who's raised his batting average to 286 after it was down in the 240 range, and he continues to rack up multi-knock performances and can play anywhere around the infield. We've seen him primarily at second base, but he can also do it at third base and at shortstop. Got enough guys playing first base between Spencer Horwitz, Ryan Gold, and Phil Clark that he's not needed over at first, but I'm sure he could handle that as well. So it's certainly been great to see him play, and he has been a consistent presence in the 2-hole for Donnie Murphy.
And then our weekly check-in essentially with Adam Kloffenstein. He's been a fun guy to follow along with this year. There have been some highs and lows. And what's the latest on Kloffenstein?
Back-to-back starts where he's just looked uncomfortable from the very beginning. He's been roughed up in the first innings of each of those outings after being absolutely unhittable through his first 3 turns. And we talked about it last week. After those first few outings, we thought, oh man, Adam Kloffenstein is on his way to Double-A New Hampshire sooner rather than later. But at just 20 years old, still trying to figure some things out and try and return to that consistency. And I asked Donnie Murphy, the skipper, about that very thing, and he has no worries about Kloff. It's certainly been just a little bit of overthinking on the mound of late, has to trust his stuff even more. And for Kloffenstein, similar to Nate Pearson and TJ Zoick, when Pat was sharing his updates from those 2 power arms at the top of the system, Kloffenstein is cut from the same cloth. So he's going to find his way. And I don't know what the 2 of you, really the 3 of you, including our producer Leo, were doing at 20 years old, but I certainly was not striking out batters in advanced day and competing with much older players last season when he was just 19 in that independent league in Texas. The Blue Jays gave him permission to go participate in. So Kloff will have a chance to get the ball tomorrow and another opportunity against a tough club in Eugene, the Giants affiliate, to really show what he's about. And as we get set to see Kloffenstein for what will be, I believe, his 6th start of the year, an opportunity for him to right the ship and dial it back in.
Don't sell yourself short, Zick. People might not know you're a former Division 3 athlete. So I've always respected that part of your resume.
Whittier College Poets, baby, the most fearful mascot in all of college sports. Remember, fans, the pen is mightier than the sword. When your college athletics team is saying that, you know you're not really known to be the Crimson Tide of the Southern California Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, the SCIAC, where the likes of Cal Lutheran, Occidental, the Claremont Mudd Scripps colleges, and of course that powerhouse Caltech, they continue to do their thing in the SCIAC.
Yeah, blue chip programs all. Zick, let's go. I think I'm good on Vancouver info. I mean, you know, I can never get enough, but at this point, it feels like roundtable time. What do you think?
I'm with you on that. Let's hit the roundtable here. And we've talked a lot of baseball, but I know there's some Around the Nest listeners out there who are thinking themselves, you know, these guys talk so much about baseball. But what about peach basket? What about basketball? I've got a huge Knicks fan in you, Tyler Murray, and a Pelican super fan in Andrew down there in Dunedin. Can I get your 3-sentence take on the end of the Knicks season? And if you can you relate the Knicks as a team to your fourth favorite sport or your first, depending on the day? What baseball team are the Knicks most like?
Well, that's a great question. Well, what happened with the Knicks was similar to what happened to my favorite football team in 2014, the 49ers at the Super Bowl in Andrew's hometown of New Orleans. I had food poisoning while watching them lose the Super Bowl in the last minute. So 2 nights ago, I watched the Fisher Cats give up a 2-run lead in the 9th to force extras as the Knicks season was ending on the computer in front of me. So, not a great day, but a team that the fans love, even if they're not always good. How about the Cubbies? I think Chicago Cubs have a pretty loyal fan base. So they won eventually, right? So that's kind of where I'm at with the Knicks, but fun season for sure.
I saw some footage of Knicks fans outside of the arena after the loss, and you know what? They'll be okay. That's for sure. New York, they always are somehow, like the Buffalo Bisons, resilient.
That's exactly it. That was the next comparison. It was the 2021 Bisons was the next comparison.
And Andrew, for you as a Pelicans fan, obviously the big news, Zion Williamson getting a chance to do his thing coming out of, was it college? Not a huge hoops guy, but regardless, can you make a comparison for us as well? Who would the Pelicans be if they were an MLB team?
First, to start, nice that the Suns won for our Pelicans. We now get that Lakers draft pick. That will not be the last pick of the draft. We moved up significantly because of that. So shout out to the Suns for that. Maybe I should do a little home cooking here and go with our Toronto Blue Jays. I think it's a lot of young talent on that team. You got Zion, you got Brandon Ingram, you got Lonzo Ball. We'll just need to take that next step and hopefully make the playoffs and make a run at it next year. So I think that's the biggest step.
You never know what you're going to get on Around the Nest. Today it's basketball. Next week it could be cricket. Maybe it's sevens rugby. You just don't know, as we keep everybody guessing. In the new iteration of the Around the Nest, we've gone on and on enough. Our producer, Leo Mui, I'm sure, is sick of hearing the basketball talk, but you know what? We just keep it fast and loose, as we are wont to do on Around the Nest 2.0. Gents, before we say goodbye, any last thoughts, any look aheads, or any plugs or apologies you're trying to get in?
I'd like to congratulate our colleague Greg Caserta, making his big league debut tonight and tomorrow with the New York Mets. I guess they're going to be home, and then out in your neck of the woods, Zick, is San Diego the next 2 days. So he is a guy who started in the NECBL, then went to Indie Ball with the St. Paul Saints, who are now AAA Minnesota, then short season A, high A, double A, AAA, and now the major league. So sometimes a lot of fans ask, like, oh, do you move up the ladder like players? And the answer is usually no, but to see Greg do that and get the well-deserved opportunity is really, really cool. So can't wait to listen to Greg and hear all about it next week.
He was not abducted by aliens, as we thought was happening in last week's edition, as he was driving somewhere in New Jersey to try and make it to his parents' house after a rainout. But again, congratulations to Greg Caserta, and probably the most casual text saying he could not make it to this edition of Around the Nest. He simply said yesterday, "Hey fellas, sorry I can't make it this week. My apologies." A way to play it down.
Yes, it was. We figured he had some kind of a commitment, or it was a doubleheader for Buffalo. So, okay, busy day. We get it. But burying the lead, that's how you play it cool when you make the big league.
That's how you get to the show for sure. And indeed, congrats to Greg. Andrew T., anything you got for us before we say goodbye? You're going to have to be a weekly guest. You're in. You said yes. You can't bail anymore. So carve out Fridays at 3:30 or 4 p.m. Eastern. You'll be hanging out with us from now on.
Yeah, I'll be there. And big shout out to Buffalo. I know we know the undertaking that was done here in Dunedin to make the games happen. It was a lot of fun. And I know that they're doing a lot in Buffalo to try to make it feel like home a little bit. So shout out to Pat and that crew that's getting things done up in Buffalo.
That's going to do it for our golden episode of Around the Nest, the 4th episode on June 4th, and certainly could not do it without the co-host today. That's Pat Malacaro from AAA, Tyler Murray from AA, and Andrew Thriffiley from Low A Dunedin. Of course, our fearless producer, Leo Mui, continuing to listen to us rant, rave, and babble on about all things Blue Jays and not. Another great edition, fellas. So thanks for joining us on The Nest. We'll be back next Friday as we continue to do our thing in the system. And remember, to all of you listening, wherever you might be, you can find us just about anywhere podcasts can be heard. For all my co-hosts, I'm Tyler Zickel. We'll see you next time on Around the Nest.